Hi there. I hope you are doing good. We're going to start the class of today about systems of equations. And in this part, we're going to be seeing a slight variation of equations that you have from the previous class. And I'm also going to show you the steps that are going to be the same for the previous problems and for these problems. But I'm just going to put them in order in words so that you can get this topic faster or more clearly or clearer. All right, so it's going to be like this. The first step you need to do is clear for x. And then remember that step, it's going to be getting the x equals to something. And then you got to substitute in the second equation. So when you substitute in the second equation, you're going to get an equation with only y's. They're only going to be y's in that equation. Y plus something, and it equals to something else, and so on. And then you got to simplify for y. You got to do the additions and subtractions, and then you got to clear and solve for equation y. You're going to get the value of y by then. And then once you get that value, you got to go back to the first equation, which is the next step. It's going to be substitute the value of y in the first equation. And then after that, you're going to get the value of x. And then that's it. You're done. You got your two answers. Okay, let's do these new problems. This one has a slight variation over the previous problems. Do you see the variation? There's going to be a negative here on the y. So what do you do to clear the x? It's going to be pretty easy. So you see the negative y, it's being, of course, subtracting. You don't want it there, so you got to add y here, and you got to add y over here. That's going to be one of the principles of algebra that you guys already know. So basically what happens here is that this y and this negative y, they get canceled, and it ends up with the y being on the other side. So it's like saying you just passed the y to the other side. So you got to do 12 plus y. Okay? So previously I had only plus y, and then you had to pass it over here as a negative y. But now this one is negative, and then you pass it as a positive. So that's what happens. We're basically using some algebra that you already know. If you have something that is negative here, you got to pass it as an addition, but now you're doing it on the first step. Okay, so it's the same as any other algebraic equation. Okay, we got the x. What's going to be the next step? It says substitute in second equation. This is my second equation. So I'm going to write, instead of the x, I'm going to write 12 plus y, and then I write the rest of the equation, which is plus 3y equals the 24. So then now all you have to do is just add the y's, which is going to be this step, which says clearance. Oh, it says right here, simplify for y. That's what we're going to do right now. Simplify for y means just put all the y's together. Add them or subtract them accordingly to their sign. So in this case, I have a positive y and a positive 3y. They are of the same sign. It's like you have one banana and then you have three bananas. You can add them, but this 12, it's like an apple. You can't add apples with bananas. You can't, because do you have bananas or do you have apples? That's going to be a mess. We have talked about that before. So you can just add the y's with the y's. And so I gotta do the same equation, but with that simplification. Y plus 3y, that's gonna be 4y, and then equals the 24. Okay? And then after that, all I have to do is just clear for y. That's gonna be the next step. Clear and solve for equation y. For y. So here I have a 12 that is being added because it doesn't have a sign. It's at the beginning. And what's the sign that you have right here? Well, it doesn't say, so that means that it's going to be a positive 12. And I don't want the 12 there. I want to have the y by itself. That means that I have to clear for y. That 12 is being added, so I'm going to pass it as a subtraction. So it's going to be 4y equals 24 minus 12. All right, how much is 24 minus 12? Well, that's going to be 12. Okay, I got a 4 there multiplying the y. I don't want the y to be with the 4. What do I do next? That 4 is multiplying. I got to pass it as a subtraction. So it's going to be y equals 12 over 4. And then we divide this, and what do you get? Oh, that's going to be a 3. So the y is 3. We got that part. Solve and clear for equation y. Check. You're done with that part. Now let's do the next step. It says substitute value of y in the first equation. My first equation is this, and then I gotta substitute the value of y into it. But I can go to this first step, this equation, and it's gonna be faster because it's already cleared for x. So what I have to do is just take the value of y, which is 3, and then substitute it into my first equation, which I'm going to take as this one. X equals 12 plus 3. And that's going to give us a value of 12 plus 3. That is going to be 15. That's one of the answers. You got x equals 15. And the other one is going to be y equals 3. And you're done with that problem. And it makes sense because when you subtract 5 minus 3, what do you get? It's going to be 12. And if you do the triple of 3, which is the next equation, it says x plus the triple of y. In this case, 3 is y, so the triple of 3, 3 times 3, that's going to be 9. And when you add 9 and 15, what do you get? 24. So that complies with this equation, and with the other equation, it solves this system of equations. Let's do this next equation. It says x minus y equals 2, and then it says 2 times x plus 3 times y equals 29. That's going to be the new thing, this 2 multiplying the x. Remember before? You didn't have something multiplying the x on the bottom one. But now you do. That's going to be the next step in the equation. Okay, so I'm going to clear for x on the first equation because I'm going to follow the same steps as before. X equals 2 plus y. Why is it a plus? Because this thing is being subtracted. And I'm going to pass it to the other side. And it's going to pass as an addition. So there you go. X equals 2 plus y. Now I'm going to go to my second equation, and I'm going to substitute the value of x. So I'm just going to change the value of x right here. Okay, so instead of the x, I'm going to put a parentheses plus 3y equals 29. Alrighty, instead of the x, I'm going to write 2 plus y. 2 plus y. Okay, there you go. What's going to be next? The same as before. We got to simplify for the variable y. Okay, so the whole point is to replace the x with the previous thing. The 2 is multiplying the x. Instead of the x, I'm going to place 2 plus y. That's why this is here. And I got to put the parentheses because I know that the x is multiplying the 2. Therefore, I got to put parentheses to indicate that all of this is multiplying the 2. This 2 over here. And this 2 comes from this other equation. Okay, the other part stays the same. 3y equals 29. There you go. Alrighty now. I gotta simplify this equation. Before I do that, I gotta multiply this number with this number and this number with this number because I got to apply the distributive property. Remember that property? 2 times 2, I got to multiply this with this, and then this with this. 2 times 2 gives us 4, and then 2 times y gives us 2y. And then we have plus 3y equals 29. Now I gotta simplify this equation. That's gonna be my step. Well, not the next step because I'm still in that step of simplifying. Doing this was also simplification. Let's do this thing first. Let's do this now. 2y plus 3y. How much is that? Well, that's gonna be 5y. But then I can't forget about the other numbers. I'm gonna keep them there. The 4 is gonna stay there. Okay, equals 29. Okay, what's going to be next? That 4, it's not supposed to be there, so I got to subtract the 4 here and subtract the 4 over here, and that's going to give me 5y equals 29 minus 4, which is going to be how much? How much is 29 minus 4? That will be 25. And then I have the 5 multiplying the y. I don't want it there. I don't want the 5 multiplying the y. I want it to be by itself, the y. So the 5 is multiplying. What is the opposite of multiplication? That's right, it's division. So it's going to be 25 divided by 5. And y is going to be how much? 25 divided by 5 will give us, well, it's going to be 5. There you go. That's going to be then the value of y. Okay, now let's go get the value of x. The value of x is going to be obtained in the following way. It's the same as before. I gotta go back to this first equation and I gotta substitute for the value of y. So the value of y is 5. Instead of placing a y, I'm gonna write a 5. So then x equals 2 plus 5, and x is going to be 2 plus 5, 7. And that's it. We are done. We have our two values, the x and the y. You gotta have both of them, not just the y or not just the x. Okay, guys, so that's pretty much it. We are done for this class. That's pretty much it. That's gonna be the new thing. You gotta be careful. This new number is gonna be multiplying whatever you substitute in the value of x. So you gotta multiply this result of the x from the first equation by this number over here. That's gonna be the new thing. And also when you have a negative here, you gotta pass it as an addition. That's basically the new thing, but everything else stays the same. So you guys be careful with the signs, with the positives and the negatives when you make addition and subtraction. And also stay safe, stay at home, be careful, have a great day. Goodbye, guys.